to be big guy 101, going out there, doing a choke slam, doing a shoulder tackle, doing, the roaring noises, the high angle body slams. So
very like 2005, 2006.
Exactly. So I kind of already feel like, yeah, it was fine and all, but it worked. And the only reason I feel that it worked necessarily in this match was because you had guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Imperium essentially going in there and making sure, which they did their jobs in that sense, where like obviously he's the new guy, he's only going to be able to bring so much to the table, but Imperium and freaking Kyle O'Reilly, like when they were, anytime you had Kyle O'Reilly with any, the two members of Imperium, you essentially had really, really good caliber wrestling was what you were seeing. It went a little bit of a different direction with Von Wagner, but it wasn't enough for me to necessarily say, oh, I don't like this match. I love this match. It was more than I expected it to be. I don't know why. I just didn't really have any expectations for this match, and I ended up really liking it. But yeah, I was a little bit torn on Von Wagner's performance, but either way, I would, like, if I'm going to compare all of the new guys, like, wouldn't probably rank him, like, at the top. Like, there's a lot of people that I would rank at the top, but I wouldn't necessarily completely rank him all the way at the bottom either, though. Like, I would say he would probably, like, for me, he did better than Duke Hudson, but I don't know, it's just different. It depends on what you're comparing things to, though. So it's just, like, different levels and whatnot. But either way, seriously, though, freaking flowers to Imperium. Oh, and we forgot to talk about the post-match stuff, Sean.
No, we didn't, Denise. I just
you mentioned it? Sorry. I forgot to mention that.
Denise, I have only said to you, what did you think of the match? I have not spoken since then.
I'm sorry. Okay, continue on. I won't say anything. My bad.
Collins on the Rock says, Imperium did outstanding work. Sometimes I forget how amazing they are, but as a tag team, they're cohesive. So great. Denise, we're proud of you. Yeah, Imperium has really started to work really great together as a team. Like, they fit really, really well, and I like it a lot. Jan Beard says, Mr. Sapp sounds like the name of a high school shop teacher somewhere in Michigan. Mr. Anything sounds like that. What are you talking about? So, Jan Beard, actually, I just read that one, but there was a post-match where Von Wagner makes an attempt to attack. Yeah, Denise, because I didn't set that up. You're like, oh, of course, I was just talking about it. Well, I didn't set it up.
Are you done yelling at me? Are you done? Like, why didn't you just jump into my...
Muted. Anyway, there was a post-match segment where Von Wagner went to attack Kyle O'Reilly, but Kyle O'Reilly was like, no, not going to happen. Now, the crowd had already shown Kyle O'Reilly like an amazing amount of respect, which was great to see. But he saw this coming, and he beat Von Wagner's ass. Like, honestly, after that, I was like, do I need a match? I just watched him beat the shit out of Von Wagner. But after that, Kyle was like, hey, let's leave the cage up. This Tuesday, let's do the cage match. Now, I have a report on FightfulSelect.com about how people backstage are feeling about Kyle O'Reilly's future, Johnny Gargano's future, whether they expect him to stay, whether they expect him to leave. You all can go to FightfulSelect.com for that. But, Denise, I thought this was a great post-match, and it sets up a match on Tuesday in which Von Wagner's probably going to win.
Okay, say my thoughts now.
Well, yeah, since I finally set this up, sure.
All right, thank you, Sean. I appreciate you for giving me the time to give my thoughts here.
You're welcome.
Okay, here's where I would have done some tweaking, all right? So you literally just said he kicked Von Wagner's ass, and now I don't even know if I should, see another match. Why should I see it? Why did he kick his ass? All right, cool. So that pretty much confirms that the way that I kind of felt that they should have done this was, okay, you have Von Wagner essentially turn on Kyle O'Reilly following the match. All right, cool. Have Von Wagner lay out Kyle O'Reilly. Have him get his heat. Have him get his heat, and then whenever they decide to actually book the match, then okay. Like, in my opinion, I don't think that Kyle O'Reilly should have gotten the best of Von Wagner in this situation, because I think that Von Wagner pretty much needed, all that he could get, and had he essentially laid out Kyle O'Reilly, it would have been impressive, and then they could have followed up with this. I feel like they need to essentially build him up, and they could have done so in a very minor way just by having him essentially lay him out. Simple.
So it wasn't just that Kyle O'Reilly laid out Von Wagner. He was telling him to suck it and throwing up the Undisputed Era sign and saying this is a brotherhood. Oh boy. So if he is leaving, just the mere fact that he was able to do that or did that, because we know where he's going if he leaves, Denise. He's going to AEW. He's going to go hang out with, because if they sign Bobby Fish, they're signing Kyle O'Reilly. That's just, they're going to do that.
I mean, I think anybody watching today, I feel like, specifically just speaking on Kyle O'Reilly, my gut tells me this is it. Like, whatever he's going to be doing with Von Wagner, this is it. That's just what my gut tells me.
Indeed. Jose Flores says, Denise putting in the hard work, living the dream, showing out for hard-working women of color. Glad everyone circled the wagon. Of course, we're very happy for Denise and very proud of her for what she did. And,
but not enough to let me talk on this show.
I'd let you talk. I let you talk for 4.5 minutes uninterrupted to the point where you forgot that we were just talking about the match and not the post-match yet today.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that my job on this podcast was just to shut up.
Katie775 says, have you heard anything about Walter coming to the States permanently? I've not, but, okay, compared to what I used to hear, there's more optimism, if that makes any sense. It's not necessarily, no, that ain't happening anymore. It's, well, it'd be nice if it happens, and this is from people of influence within WWE, but you never know what that means. What they want and what they get are two different things, and there you go. People ask me how I got a WWE pre-show panelist on this show. I paid her. She's paid chill for Fightful. What can I say? What can I say? Denise?
Yes?
You only lasted a minute.
Hey, that's all it takes, man. That's all it takes if it's a good, strong minute.
Really? Really? I think you need to keep that energy up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I should keep that energy up.
You should keep that energy up. You should really, really make sure that you've got all the nutrients that you need to thrive, Denise.
Yes, I do need nutrients.
With athleticgreens.com/Fightful. Whether it's physical, lifestyle, digestion, energy, simplicity, Athletic Greens has you covered. AG1 by Athletic Greens, the category-leading superfood product, brings comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition to everybody. Keeping up with the research, knowing what to do, taking a bunch of pills and capsules is hard on the stomach and hard to keep up with. To help each of us, be at our best, you simplify the path by just drinking that AG1. One scoop of AG1 has 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, green superfood blend, and more in one daily serving. I've been taking this every day. I've been trying to up my energy by not doing the same methods I've always done. Because as I get older, I want to be more safe. I want to be more responsible with that. And AG1 fills the nutritional gaps in your diet. It supports energy and focus. Focus is very important in my job, especially when Denise talks for 6 minutes uninterrupted. Vitamin D, of course, is very important. And you know what? How about this? Athletic Greens is going to give you an immune-supporting, free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/Fightful today. athleticgreens.com/Fightful. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, any of that stuff. Baron Black, who has appeared on AEW multiple times, hit me up on Twitter. He was singing the praises of AG1. I've really been enjoying it. I drank those energy drinks for so long, and I was like, I think I almost built up an immunity to them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try some other stuff. And I tried that, and I really like it. We have Bad One saying, having Von Wagner lay out Kyle after the match probably would have made Kyle look like a dumb baby face for not seeing it coming. Probably would have also annoyed the fans and gave the company heat instead of Vern getting heel turn. It didn't feel like tonight was more Johnny and Kyle's night, even in loss, than it was, hey, they're definitely going to put somebody over. I didn't have a problem with with Kyle laying him out. But I hope that Kyle can get a really great match out of Von Wagner on Tuesday. Because if Von Wagner cannot have a great one-on-one match with Kyle O'Reilly, that might be a damning thing right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Daniel says, Sean, do you take it out of Denise's pay when she does the pre-show, like what WWE was going to do with a Twitch? Yeah, I took that $0 right out of her fight pay. Oh, NXT War Games, Johnny's last stand. So Denise, this was set up by backstage promos. And Tommaso Ciampa said, "This isn't just about our team. This night is Johnny's night." No matter what happens, that was a very nice thing for them to do, for WWE to allow, for Tommaso Ciampa to do. I thought this was classy and self-aware and in incredible taste. And to be quite honest, of late, within WWE, that's not what we've been talking about. We've been talking about things being done in bad taste, as recently as 2 nights ago, with a line about future endeavors and all that. This was a very classy wink and a nod, and I thought that was a very nice thing for them to do.
I loved everything about the men's War Games. I'll just start off by saying that. I loved everything top to bottom.
And the match, I loved it. I really did. I think, especially on NXT 2.0, these were great performances by Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. And then, in a completely different way, Grayson Waller got his ass beat this whole match. Like, he was the glue. While Carmelo and Braun had these big star-making performances, Grayson Waller was the glue. And you know what? There's always room for that on a WWE roster. Dolph Ziggler has made an incredible career and won world titles off of being the glue and fitting in all over the place. And I think that's a great comparison for Grayson Waller. Meanwhile, I look at Braun Breaker, and I'm like, now he's not going to get pushed like Goldberg, but I see a lot of comparisons there. I look at Carmelo Hayes, I see a lot of Shawn Michaels in him. Shawn Michaels sees a lot of Shawn Michaels in Carmelo Hayes. And then Tony D is something completely of his own. He is almost like a meme stock. Like, he got sarcastically over, and now people just like him. They just like the guy. And he's out there taking these big boy bumps all over the place. You've got all these references to DIY throughout the match. Oh, this is beautiful. I really loved it. Tell me your thoughts, Denise.
All right, so I had quite a few. So first of all, I want to start off by saying that I love the start of War Games with Carmelo Hayes and Johnny Gargano sort of kicking this off. They had an incredible sequence between them. I like how instantly they utilized both rings. I kind of do feel like maybe it took a while for the women's War Games to really utilize both rings, but this one was like instantaneous. Also, it kind of felt a little bit symbolic. You know, we're sitting here talking about Johnny Gargano and this essentially being his, farewell, ta-ta. So it's like to have him essentially who has done so much in NXT and so much specifically, as a former NXT North American champion, to basically kick it off with your current NXT North American champion, like for me that felt a little bit symbolic and I really like that. I like that, so to me the story felt right here where you had, Johnny Gargano essentially taking on 2 guys as the babyface. I like that. Throughout this match, Pete Dunne was literally just freaking doing all of these like little things, manipulating body parts. There was a moment where I believe it was to Grayson Waller where he was putting, or was it? It was to Grayson Waller where he was putting in that freaking kendo stick like in his ear and like practically cleaning it like a Q-tip. I thought that was pretty awesome. I liked that throughout this entire match, we basically got a bunch of action and it was essentially non-stop. Even just the part where we got the heels essentially locking in the War Games, like it kind of felt like, a little bit more exciting. There was a moment where Alan Knight, when he finally comes into this match, and I was kind of wondering, like, are they gonna, because if you, like, LA Knight, his character has kind of been all about him. All about him. He's not really a team player type of guy. So if anything, I kind of saw him as somebody that would not be trustworthy in this War Games match. So when he essentially got locked out of the cage, I kind of thought it would, for a second, I kind of thought he was going to ditch his team and be like, peace, you know? I will say this, if they would have done that, I would not have hated it. I actually thought it would have made sense to who LA Knight is, but you know, obviously he found his way to the match, etc., etc. I did panic a little bit for Braun Breaker when he couldn't get the bolt cutters, the freaking fire thingies to cut open the chain. I did kind of panic for him for like a second there because it reminded me of when Paul Heyman couldn't undo the handcuffs for Roman that one time.
Yeah.
So I did kind of feel bad.
I erased that from my memory.
yeah. So for a second I was like, damn, I was like, they should have come up with another way where like Braun Breaker doesn't look like, you know, like he essentially comes in a more impressive way versus, damn, I'm struggling a little bit to get this going in here. The second Tommaso Ciampa came in, he literally just like ran havoc through everybody. I love that. There was a moment where LA Knight did the belly-to-belly suplex on Grayson Waller onto the table. I thought, I don't know if it was the way that it was shot or just like the move itself. I really like how it looked and the way that it came off presented. When Ciampa did the air raid crash onto Braun Breaker, I really liked that. Especially he did it onto the trash can and that was already broken. So like you can argue that it definitely hurts a lot more when you already have, you know, odd parts of the trash can essentially pointing out in all these different directions. I like that. The Grayson's elbow drop from I think it was the top of the cage to the table onto LA Knight. That was good too. The crowbar spot, love that as well. The Braun Breaker spear onto Ciampa onto the table, that was phenomenal. Breaker winning. I like this. I thought that. I also like that they didn't essentially incorporate the weapons like literally right at the top of this match. They kind of brought them, weaved them in like a little bit slowly into this match. I like this. It essentially trickled in. Yeah, young guys got over. Good win. I love it.
And that, I think, was important. Despite this being a sentimental moment for Johnny Gargano and a lot of people who watch NXT, it is about the future. And NXT is supposed to be about the future at its core. It's okay to be great in the present, but it's supposed to be at the core about the future. Jay Beard says Johnny coming out to Rebel Heart was wonderful. And I love the TakeOver gear mashup with all of his previous TakeOver themes. He doesn't do this stuff by accident. He doesn't do it by accident. Kyle says, Gargano says he will tell all on Tuesday night. So let me pull this up. After this match, Johnny cut a promo that Sam Roberts posted. He said, quote, I want to say thank you. There wouldn't be Johnny Wrestling without you. You guys know I love you right back. And I'm an open book with you guys and always 100% honest and authentic with you. I feel like you guys aren't just fans. We've known each other for such a long time, and you guys are like my family. Right now, I'm beat up, I'm sore, I'm tired, I got a lot on my mind. I want to tell you guys everything, and I'll tell you guys everything this Tuesday. Okay, everybody, come back here Tuesday night. I'll tell you everything. So,
I like that.
I'll give you guys a little bit of the scoop that I posted on Fightful Select tonight. People that I were talking to in WWE think their best case scenario is if they even re-sign both Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano, they believe that Johnny will take time off. That's what the people that I talked to believe. And you know what? It would make an awful lot of sense if he did. The man has been at it for a very long time. He's got a child in the way. It would make all the sense in the world. That's what the people I spoke to believe. That doesn't mean that will happen or won't happen. But the worst case scenario and likeliest of scenarios is that he's hitting the bricks. And I mean, he could leave and then just, you know, not sign anywhere, too. There's a lot of options. And people will say, AEW can't sign everybody. You know who they can sign? They can sign Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. They can absolutely find spots for two of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, it's not going to be an issue. It's not going to be, like, something that they struggle to find space for. So what do you think of Johnny, like, and them really leaning into, hey, these guys might leave?
I think we knew it, like maybe we knew it like going into this, but literally if you're just watching the show, the second that he came out and he really had like an extra long pause in his entrance where he kind of like really soaked in the crowd, and even just like afterwards, like you just know, like you just feel it. And then this was the baton. And I mentioned that the way that they kicked off the match with him and Carmelo Hayes felt symbolic to me. For me, like I don't expect to see Johnny Gargano in NXT, after this.
Chris Williams says Braun Breaker should use the jackhammer. I think it would fit him well. I fear that it would draw too many like push comparisons to Goldberg though. Like the cynics would zone in on that and be like, oh, here he is, Goldberg light. You know what I mean?
I think no matter what, people will complain about whatever it is they don't like. If he makes it his own and makes it his own thing.
Like you know anything about that.
I think he can make it work. Like why the hell not? It's a freaking cool move. I'm a fan of it. Let's do it.
We're heading down the home stretch, guys. Humperchats.com. The cool thing about Humperchats.com is if you don't watch the show live, you can leave a Humper Chat ahead of time. We'll read it on the air. So if you're one of the thousands of people who watch our shows after the fact, you can leave a Humper Chat, and you'll get your question or statement read on the air. Orlando says, Grayson is growing on me and he's having some good matches. D'Angelo is his old tiring Italian gangster gimmick. He looked out of gas during the match. I think he was selling.
I've been saying this since literally the beginning of when we first started seeing Grayson Waller, and even more so when he started to be highlighted more on NXT 2.0. He was one of the ones that I think that not everybody necessarily gravitated to right away, but he was one of my favorites right off the bat, because right off the bat, even though he didn't really have a character, they were having him take L's. All of his matches have been good, and he has been impressive. And I've literally been telling people, dude, keep an eye out for Grayson Waller, And every week we see more and more, more of that, more good stuff for Grayson Waller. He's been one where, out of a lot of the guys that we've been seeing, a lot of the new guys, he's been one of my favorites.
Also, his selling on I still want to call him Eli Drake, the LA Knight finisher. Oh my God, he took it completely vertically spiked. It was amazing.
Daniel. It was in his interactions today with Pete Dunne. He was going at it with him too. Pete Dunne was having his fun with him, but so was he.
Yeah. People are saying that your shelf looked a little different on the NXT pre-show, Denise.
Yeah, dude. You think I am dumb?
Daniel says, not a big deal, but it annoyed me. The end of the War Games match, all this carnage, the ending was a power slam. Would have put the power slam through a table or on a trash can or something. I don't disagree with that, but I do think you want to maximize the finish as much as possible. But how do you feel about that, about it not being through a table or a trash can or something?
I thought that given everything that they did prior to this, completely made up for that. They literally went through hell prior to all of that. So it didn't take away for the match for me.
Ken says, the fact we had two companies book War Games matches with face advantage in 2021 makes me want to pull my hair out. It's not hard to book. I'm okay with it. You can't make it the same formula every single time. It can be a little bit different, because next year it's probably going to be heel. Almost every time before has been a heel advantage.
I'm not. I'm more of the traditional gal.
Ugh. Orlando says, Johnny could re-sign. I could see him be the next Daniel Bryan. Kyle is leaving and going to AEW. I mean, again, as I always say, I will not. Pretend to understand the motivations of artists, especially those with millions of dollars at stake. And both of these guys have millions of dollars in their future at stake. Tune77 says, I legit got teary-eyed from Rebel Heart. Cora Jade was awesome, amazing selling her arm. Johnny Wrestling is one of the best in the world. I think Johnny Gargano would fit right in on the main roster too. We've seen that with his character work with The Way, and then I think he could walk right into AEW. And if you add him to Orange Cassidy, Trent, Chucky, and Chris Statlander, I think they have a upper top guy in their faction too that makes them more of a threat as well. So lots of opportunity. Dirk Drew says Tuesday Johnny and Kyle should get chanted their way out together. It's only fitting. Kyle is AEW. Johnny, I think, his dad life for a bit, then AEW. Where do you see them going, Denise?
Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. For me, honestly, I hate to sound generic, but I think the answer is definitely AEW. Although, don't count out Impact Wrestling either, because they've been making some surprise moves, so I wouldn't necessarily count them out here. Especially I wouldn't count them out either, but I would definitely go more with the obvious route being AEW.
I would maybe not count it out in the short term for a guy like Johnny, who he can go work one set of tapings and be on a show for 2 months, and then go back and be a dad again, and then do something else, but I'm not counting. Orlando says, love the men's War Games match. Johnny's gear from all the takeover matches. It was a star-making moment for Braun and Carmelo. Carmelo Hayes, boy, does that guy just get it. He just gets it. And Braun Breaker's instincts are so good. Just so there. Those two guys are really good. 8775 says, with all the Triple H's guys pretty much gone, I think he's coming back. Yeah, I mean, the guy had a pretty significant life event happen to him, so I don't think they're in any rush to, get him back, but, I mean, I don't think this just came out of nowhere. I think he knew that a lot of this stuff was going to happen. James says...
I hope we see him back.
James says, my step host got stuck in the cage door. Help me.
Oh, I was about to say, when the frick did I get stuck on a freaking... You know how many times... Whatever, I have no comments anymore.
Jay Beard says, Step host is now NXT approved. Congrats.
Step host made her NXT debut.
Pro Wrestling Podcast says, I think next year should be an exploding barbed wire War Games. That will not happen. Maybe in AEW it'll happen, but yeah. And for, I always see people say, nobody watches Impact. Check's clear. That's all that matters. The check's clear.
That's really sad.
The check's clear. Pro Wrestling Podcast says we're going to have cage matches 3 nights in a row. That's cool, I think. Oh, gosh, you're right.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And that is something they seem to do. They were like, Hell in a Cell, 3 or 4 nights in a row. It does kind of minimize the impact there. But Denise, what do you got going on besides, what do you got going on?
Alright, yeah, next week is pretty busy, BTW, ridiculously busy. I'm supposed to be doing the, on top of all my podcasts, Speak Now Pro Wrestling on F4W. On top of that, I'm going to the SmackDown LA show, because I'm going to be doing the MMA show, the Lights Out Fighting, again. They're having another show, so I'll be there doing interviews. And then on Saturday, the 11th, on the 11th, I will be in Texas for Mission Pro. They're going to be having the Silver Bell show. You can watch that on Title Match Network. I will be doing commentary there as well, so that'll be a really good time. And then it's literally just going to be nonstop every single day next week. YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo is where you guys can keep up with all of the video content. And then Twitter and Instagram @_Denise Salcedo. Twitter, most likely, I'm literally almost at 50K. I'm 5,500 followers away, and I'm trying to get there by 2022. By 2022, I want to kick off the year with 50K. So if you haven't followed me, go follow me. I'm super active. And every now and then I have Twitter drama, so you guys can come see that.
Guys, we dropped a bunch of interviews over the last week. We have a great one with Caprice Coleman, who talked about a ton of stuff in his career, like wrestling CM Punk and what's going on with ROH. I dropped Inside NXT War Games with all those interviews this past week. I spoke to Fred Rosser of New Japan about a promo where he said that he was going to drag Tom Lawler into his yard in front of his family and murder him, bend him over and humble him. I asked him about that. We dropped an interview with Raquel Gonzalez yesterday here on Fightful. Not just talking about board games. We talked about her SmackDown Dark match. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Talked about the Royal Rumble, about Vince McMahon, a lot of cool stuff. Shared the emotional roller coaster that she went on ahead of her SmackDown Dark match. This week we've got a bunch of interviews dropping, but every day we've got reviews. Raw, NXT, AEW. You got the distraction on Thursday. Friday, SmackDown and AEW. But then Saturday, I haven't been doing ROH pay-per-view post-shows of late. I believe I'm going to be here for the ROH Final Battle post-show. And then there's a big UFC card that I'm sure we're going to do a Fight Night watch-along for. So come on, join us. Have a good time. Subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Denise, you did good. You did good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for joining us. This is one of the biggest NXT post shows we've done in a long time. And right now, if you want some more, Alex and Kate are still live on FightfulSelect.com, and there probably will be until like 2 a.m. So head over there. If that's popular, I might have them do that for each WWE pay-per-view. So subscribe, show them some love. Until next time, guys, we're out.
Keep a sharp lookout.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. It is November 17th, 2021. This is your AEW Dynamite review for Fightful. I was at Full Gear this past weekend in Minnesota. It was a good show. And damn, did they follow it up with a fantastic episode of Dynamite. If you're watching this, don't just leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out our friends at Wrestle Rumble. We're going to be here Sunday for Survivor Series. Post-show with Denise, all kinds of good stuff. But if you want to make your predictions, go over to WrestleRumble.com. Win real money making predictions, not just on the matches themselves, but how long they go, what they consist of, all that stuff. WrestleRumble.com. You can also find them at WrestleRumble on Twitter. But if you're here on any of our numerous platforms, specifically YouTube.com/Fightful, you can donate a super chat. However, no matter what platform you're on, even if you're not here right now, you can tune in 3 hours before the damn show and give us a Humper Chat at HumperChats.com. That's Humper Chat or Humper Chats. We don't give a damn. We bought them both. HumperChats.com. We do not endorse the behavior of Streamlabs. HumperChats.com. Leave your Humper Chats. Get your question or statement right on the air. It's the most direct way to support us. But another way you can support us is FightfulSelect.com. I have had a whole mess of AEW stories up the last 2 or 3 days. Yesterday we talked about a wrestler that had a little bit of frustration on him after not checking on someone that he injured. Today we have clarification on that long-standing rumor that Warner Media only wants AEW to do one women's match a show. There's some clarification on that. And then, right before the show, guys, who I haven't even introduced guys yet, it's them boys, Robert D. Police and Alex Palowski, but there were some other dem boys that were supposed to be backstage at Dynamite. I haven't heard yet if they were. One wrestler told me, yeah, they're just visiting. That seems to check out right now. Another couple wrestlers I had talked to said that they hadn't heard or hadn't seen them as of yet, as of a couple hours before the show. But Robert, FightfulSelect.com reported that the Briscoes were slated to be backstage at Dynamite. Two people who were at Dynamite, Willow Nightingale, Trish Adora, they were on that ROH roster. Seems like Tony Khan's just like, give me.
Well, he needs to take the women's division because he needs to grow his own women's division. The Briscoes deserve to be on a bigger platform at least one, even if it's a one-off. But I'm sure they'll get there eventually.
Alex, Trish Adora, Willow Nightingale, these are two people that probably need to be signed yesterday. Yes, they can grab Roxy, grab her too. Briscoes, of course, they have a checkered past. We have heard from a lot of people in ROH that say that they have taken pretty big measures to improve. I trust the word of Ian Riccaboni, quite frankly. I don't know of a more milk and cookies human being than Ian Riccaboni. That Ian Riccaboni, for sure, still actually leaves out milk and cookies for Santa on Christmas Eve. I'm not saying he believes. I'm just saying he does it because he's a good guy. So I trust his word. But it seems like AEW's taking a look at that roster and going, yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talent there. They've already got one particular former Ring of Honor person. So yeah, there's the one. I mean, like, I won't be satisfied until it's fresh. Like I won't be satisfied until I'm seeing him in the ring with Danielson, just maybe just a one-off. It can at least be just a one-off. If you're not going to sign the guy, just put it on Dynamite. So let me watch it.
Let me show Jonathan Gresham some love too, because I'm going to interview him and his partner in a new project they're doing called Terminus. It is a wrestling company, and they are doing a deep dive on what would make an interesting independent pro wrestling company. I'll say that. And I gave some of my feedback, was flattered that I was even asked. But I think Britt Baker has a pretty good, or not Britt Baker, as I read this super chat right here. I think Jonathan Gresham has a pretty good idea of what can make something good. But yes, get your super chats, your humper chats in. Nerd Guru says, I'm tired of Britt not having feuds. I get the focus on the TBS title, but this is your main women's champ. Give her something other than backstage promo. So let's talk about that first on this review. I'm okay with that because this went out of a Ty Conchi promo where she's like, even in losing, I won. And Britt was showing her girl the same kind of support that her girl shows her. I love that. I love that she was like, you know who I don't want to face? I don't really want to face Thunder Rosa. So it'd be awful neat if my girl Jamie Hayter beat her next week, because why wouldn't she? I like that. I like that she doesn't have to be using Rebel and Jamie Hayter. Now, granted, could I see more than one women's match? Sure. But I thought this was good in what they did, following up with Ty Conchi and then leaning into Britt Baker. What do you think, Alex?
I'm fine with it because I feel like we got really spoiled tonight with all sorts of things being immediately said. This is the thing that happened on Sunday. Here's this other thing that you can envision going for 6 months. So it's just this we got excited about all these things. I'm fine with Britt not having a new opponent like 5 days after her last one, considering that they're building this other thing. And part of Britt's thing is her rival with Thunder Rosa, who's in that tournament. She has her heater, who's facing her next week. I feel like that's fine. I think the women's division especially has a problem with the rankings, because she's not allowed to face anybody unless that person is number 2 in the rankings. Like, it doesn't feel like she's... And Britt wouldn't be like, all right, open challenge. Who wants one? Because Britt would never do that. So I think she's perfectly fine. Britt in character would be perfectly fine waiting for them to force her to face her number 1 contender, because she's fine just backstage getting promos and being on.
Yeah, it's smart that Britt would say, I'm not going to talk about me to keep the heat off of me. Let's focus on the other belt, so I don't have to defend this one. I like that going forward. They do need more than, hey, this is number 1 in the rankings, so here's your pay-per-view match. But I think they're just saving it for whenever Thunder Rosa gets her match and eventually the belt.
Nerd Guru says, non-AEW related chat. Becky's interview with Milwaukee was amazing. She handled every question with class, and Rick's tweets only dug his hole deeper. Yeah, I think Rick is a little detached from reality at some points, and that, I mean, he's an older gentleman. He's partied quite a bit in his days, but, you know, Thunder Rosa has chimed in and said Britt Baker would be good at dodgeball. So,
So has Thunder Rosa tried to throw a wrench at Britt Baker?
Well, she's tried to throw herself, and I guess we can dodge a Thunder Rosa. And boy, if she's spamming it in the chat right now, we're going to have to warn. We're going to have to put Thunder Rosa in timeout for spamming at some point. Oh my God, she's did it again. Come on. She's not dodging our chat, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Aren't you at work right now? Rosa. I'm going to see Rosa shortly at WrestleCade. But yeah, as far as the Becky interview went, Ariel Helwani's doing great wrestling work. And he can get away with asking some of the questions that, like, quite frankly, some of us that are on thin ice with WWPR, we can't necessarily lean in and say, oh, hey, Becky, you watch AEW, do you? Alex, he can ask those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great interviewer, and I love this as an impartial entity. He's allowed to ask this thing, and I really respected Becky for answering this question in that way, because she could have been like, yeah, well, whatever. The way Roman Reigns responds to any talk of AEW in his interviews, like, I'm just small time, I could squash all their guys. But no, she's like, no, as a professional wrestler, you want to keep up on it. You should, because this is what you love. You should be able to consume as much of it as possible while you're not doing it. I think that's really cool, and I love that she refers to them as an alternative, because it is true. What AEW is doing is not what WWE is doing. And you're allowed to like both, but I think one of the main reasons we see such tribalism is because they are very different things. And what WWE is doing is not the same thing. And what she's doing there is great. And I think that if she were in AEW and she was doing what they're doing, she'd be great at that too. She's great. But I appreciate that she would say, like, oh, they're not competition. She acknowledges that they are an alternative.
And it's also cool to see her say, they're wrestling and I'm a wrestler, so I need to know what they're doing so I don't copy it. So it doesn't look like we're all just doing the same thing.
Jane Beard says Thunder Roaster's the only one allowed to spam. I mean, to be fair, I spammed her with interview requests, so I'm not going to really complain about that. Jan Beard also says, did you see the Matt Hardy tweet involving WrestleCade? Yes, so I will be there in a couple weeks. If you don't go to WrestleCade at least once, man, you're missing out. WrestleCade Revenge, 3 days, November 26th to 28th, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at the Benton Convention Center. It's got a who's who there. Sting, Angle, Braun Strowman, Kane, Jay White, like people from everywhere are there. And they're doing Matt Hardy and Enzo in the soft deletion. And if you want to delete your softness, check out BlueChew.com for Fightful. Joey Bag of Donuts says, please Briscoes come to AEW. Their matches with the Young Bucks were amazing. And they are main event level tag team performers. They really are. Daniel R. says, the matches on this show were great. The promos were okay. Oh, buddy, I thought there was some amazing promo work. And let's jump into the first one. Adam Hangman Page comes out. He was like, listen, I didn't deserve this. I earned this. And talked about winning the AEW Championship. He's interrupted in his hometown on Cowboy Shit Day, mind you. And Bryan Danielson said, I'm a little disappointed that this wasn't Kenny Omega. And I liked that because, of course, he wanted to face Kenny Omega again. And I just love that Dark Order stepped up and said, you know what? It didn't take him 30 minutes to beat Kenny Omega's ass. And there was just this great back and forth. It's just that progressiveness where it starts off respectful, Robert, and then one person pisses the other one off, and you look like a little bitch in front of your friends. You can't. If this were behind closed doors, it's one of those conversations that would have ended just completely amicably. But they were in front of everybody. They were showing their asses. And there was ass shown here, Robert.
Danielson's got some guts, because I wouldn't talk shit about Hangman Adam Page in a ring full of his friends. You'd think maybe if it's an even playing field, but Danielson said what he said, and I love it because I said since the moment he got there, he's going to be a perfect heel, and he can end Hangman's reign on the first offense because he doesn't care, and he showed it tonight, and I think that was perfect, and he's not going to forget that Hangman took him down, and I'm sure something big is coming from that.
A fight breaks out, Alex. This is the most elementary. It's minor aspects of disrespect leading to bigger pieces of disrespect, leading to people trying to fight each other and being separated. But you don't want them to fight until it's time for them to fight. You want that fight to mean something. You want it to be a big moment. Jambeard says Paige shutting down the "You Deserve It" chance with "I Earned It" is chef's kiss. To me, this is such a fantastic way to just kick this off. Josh says Brian turning heel before Punk, wouldn't have thought. Alex, this is wild.
This is perfect. What this was like. This is Danielson. Gosh, he shows up a couple months ago saying, "I'm not here to help out the young guys. I want to kick freaking heads in." And we're like, "Oh, Danielson, you're so cute. Of course you want to help the young guys. You're a really nice guy. We know who you are." I know when people tell you who they are, believe them. Like he just decided, no, I am the best in the world. And you know what I really do? I love wrestling, but more than that, I love hurting people. I can hurt you a million different ways. Let me show you, because that's how I'm going to end all my matches. A million different ways to hurt you. And he gives him this thing, and he's respectful, but it's true. He has actually said, I want to be the guy to take the belt off of Kenny Omega, to screw Kenny Omega. I know I'm better than he is. And so, he's a little jealous that Hangman was the one to do it. But because he's got this ever-building ego, because he's still undefeated, and nobody can touch him, and he knows nobody can touch him, he says it in a way to Hangman that he ruffles Hangman's feathers in his hometown and everything. The whole thing devolves into everything, and finally, while they're being pulled away, he goes out like, of course you're not going to fight me with all your buddies between the two of us. Of course you're a coward. Like, this is amazing. And the way that it's so good is that him now saying, oh, well, I don't have all these buddies between you and me. And this is what he does. He takes out Evil Uno, and then he challenges another one, and
in their hometown, in Boogman's hometown, yeah.
Even before he even had the Evil Uno match, I was like, I hope he faces, beats, and destroys every member of the Dark Order before he agrees to have the match with Hangman. I hope he insists upon it. Like this, he should be the kind of heel that never cheats. He's just better than you are. You can't beat him. He knows it. Like that. This kind of Danielson heel thing. Every heel run he ever had in WWE was over his gimmick. Like I'm the environmentalist. I'm the no guy. No, he's just better than you now. And he's gonna beat you up. I love it.
Well, one thing I do like is that he got the crowd to boo him organically simply by saying, I headlined WrestleMania.
Yep. And then I WrestleMania to AEW confirmed. They got a chorus of boos, Robert.
Just for saying WrestleMania and then I wrestled the next night. And that's it. Because even though he's Danielson and we all love him, he still has the WWE stink on him, and that's just something AEW fans can't forgive.
Oh man, Nerd Guru says Danielson versus Stu Grayson hose me down. That I've long said there's going to be a match that Stu Grayson has. It's going to show everybody what he is. That's going to be the match. It's going to be this Bryan Danielson match. Mark my words. When they have their match, a lot of people are going to go, "Oh shit, Stu Grayson." Sawyer said by far the most babyface thing Adam Page has ever done is tell the "You Deserve It" chance to F off. Yeah. But I mean, you can deserve something by earning it. Maybe Hangman's being a little obtuse there, okay? I love me some Soba. Said, having a blast at Dynamite Rampage. Stopping by right quick to show some love. You guys rock. A reminder, if you guys can't watch the shows live, you can send Humper Chats at humperchat.com, and we get them for the next show. So that has been a great benefit there. Again, we do not reflect the interest and behavior of Streamlabs. Humperchats.com. JB Love says, woohoo, caught the live show. Keep doing what you all do so well, fellas. Fightful rules. Well, you know what? I'll be doing a Q&A show either tomorrow or Friday. Either way, stay tuned to FightfulSelect.com. Make sure you check that out. We do that one well. Stuplexer says, I don't think this was a heel turn for Danielson. His mission has always been to win the championships and kick heads in. He said on day one, he wasn't there to help anybody. I prefer wrestling when everyone's pissed off and wants a shot at the world title. I mean, for all the shades of gray talk we've had over 20 years, AEW does the closest to it in that sometimes people are assholes. And then it doesn't mean you're a bad person because you're an asshole. It just means sometimes you're an asshole. Everybody is. Not everybody's going to be sunshines and rainbows, Alex.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I don't think he thinks he's being a heel.
Yeah.
He's not doing bad things. He's being the greatest wrestler, and he's putting a little stank on it when he does. But if you listen to that crowd, who I guarantee you loved Bryan Danielson before he came out there, by the end of everything he was doing, they were booing the crap out of him, and that takes a little bit of artistry, and I love it.
My favorite thing is, I guess, Virginia boos hard work.
Yes.
Great.
Tony Shade says, who would you put in Danielson's heel stable? Probably 2.0 and Daniel Garcia, for sure. And Lee Moriarty.
Yeah, there it is. Lee Moriarty, Daniel Garcia, and a guy named Jonathan Gretchen. Because why not?
Yep, that's who I'd put in it. Phantom FCW says, Hangman is so over. Anyone versus Hangman equals a heel. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Same thing with Eddie Kingston right now. Yeah. Punk got a heel reaction because it's Eddie Kingston. Sawyer says, wasn't a huge fan of how WWE the opening segment felt, but the opening segment felt when Bryan came out and they went back and forth. The content of the promos hummed. I was okay with it. I mean, interrupting Hangman in his hometown is a whole lot better than leaving him laying.
Right, and then also, like, Adam Page says, now what the next chapter is Bryan Danielson. And then Bryan Danielson came out. It was like he basically called him out, and that was great. Listen, the thing I've had to retrain my brain to think is I have been watching the same wrestling for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've been watching them use the same things over and over and over again for 20 years. I don't remember them doing this kind of a promo on an episode of Dynamite to start out with. They always start out with a hot match. This felt monumental because they never do it. If you could just look at the way AEW does things, they're not going to do this again next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. This was a special thing to get this feud started, and I thought they did it perfect.
I don't think we see this again until CM Punk wins the world title, and that's good because it is a trope, and it's a trope that they've smashed, and now that they brought it back, they did it to perfection.
Jay Blood says, Jeezy Cheesy, Hangman is so over, they turned Bryan nearly instantly. The first 40 minutes made this heated feud a near perfect show. And then right after the Hangman match, people are going to love Bryan Danielson again, and he can go right back to where he was, and it'll be fine. Ribbon Blade says, Jeremy is right, Danielson is the GOAT, all hail. You know what? I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Ribbon Blade said, WrestleMania has more heat than the HFO, yes or no? Yes, tonight, absolutely. Thomas LaValle says, versus Cabana in Chicago versus Allen Angels in Atlanta. Yep. Man, this is going to be a fun series of matches. Bryan Danielson's already like 10-0. Like he's already killing it.
Because as he said, I'm out here wrestling every single week.
Yes.
So he's just going to keep piling up those victories.
Nate S. says he made it seem like he's going to dismantle each member of Dark Order until Hangman accepts. How many friends will let Hangman or will let Page get beat up before he says he's ready?
Well, Hangman doesn't have to accept Ray John has to book the match.
Yeah, but I mean, Bryan Danielson did say specifically, I don't want you to have the excuse that you're not ready. So whenever you are, I will be. Anakin says, I like how Bryan was actually being hypocritical when he said he won the title at Mania and then wrestled the next night, conveniently leaving out that Triple H made him defend the title. That's true, but he did wrestle.
He did get the ring.
JB Love says, the astonishing thing is this isn't just good wrestling storytelling, it's some of the best storytelling on TV. So that's a point I keep making. Like, I just love good TV. I love Ozark. I love Dead to Me. I love stuff like that. I would watch this wrestling show regardless. Like, I would just, if I wasn't covering this, I would be there on my couch at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I wouldn't watch it on DVR. I'd be there every Wednesday watching this show. And that isn't a way that I've felt for a very long time about wrestling. Nurturer says Page versus Bryan was first TBS Dynamite. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think you can stretch this out into Revolution. I think once every 2 months or so, Robert seems like the path for the title.
Battle of the Belts hasn't gotten a date yet, so if it's not that, then it will be the first Dynamite.
I mean, and if he actually wrestled each one of those members of Dark Order in a row, one a week, that would put him around the time when the first Dynamite is.
And Schultz says, can we get Briscoe's FTR, please? They want it bad. They both want
FTR, I believe, told TSN that they will do whatever it takes to make that happen. They want that one.
Mark Losper says WWE starting their programs with promos isn't the problem. Starting WWE. Okay, wait. Okay. I can't understand this. They say it isn't the problem, then it is the problem. Oh, with WWE promos is the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand the super chat. Sorry. I got ahead of myself and I was like, what the hell? Felt like Laura Ingraham for a second. The mechanism isn't bad. The content is, yes, the content and delivery is pretty rough there. And Nerd Guru says, Brian being the workhorse heel is amazing. Not with a single word. CM Punk confronting MJF spoke volumes. This feud will be juicy. Let's lean right into that because I talked about Raw this week and I felt like not a lot newsworthy happened. And then on this show, a lot of stuff newsworthy happened. Wyatt Todd says Bryan Danielson is the epitome of you're not wrong, you're just an a-hole. Yeah. But MJF had 2 segments. There was a segment of him backstage, something that seemed very rooted in his actual belief. He is sick of the bullshit. He is sick of being compared to The Miz. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, stop comparing me to The Miz without saying The Miz or saying anything about WWE. That's his thing. Stop saying I'm just a mic guy. I can wrestle. And hot damn, I thought that was the best in-ring wrestling match of Saturday. I thought it was one of the best singles matches